Right. Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that.
The real question here is, do the Millers have anything else in their toolbox other than threatening citizenship or revoking citizenship when their feelings are hurt? Because that was Katie Miller, Cenk, Stephen Miller's wife, threatening to revoke your citizenship because you were too critical of Israel?
And her, so you're gonna see later that she thinks that if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing her children. And if you beat her in a debate, she's gonna try to have her husband denaturalize and deport you. So what I want you to.
How about this? I would like to propose a challenge. The don't feed into the tropes challenge.
Yeah.
How does this not feed into tropes?
Yeah, so we don't control anything, but you criticize Israel, we're kicking you out of the country when we're taking away your citizenship. Look, first they started with people who had student visas. I'm an American citizen. Now they're on to citizens.
100%.
Okay, so if you dare criticize Israel, no First Amendment rights, no freedom of speech. No, this government is going to target you on behalf of the Israeli government, and you're gonna see Katie Miller threatening it on air live. And then I'll respond today now that I heard her say, because when we were debating, I didn't hear her threaten my citizenship. I have a response.
Well, let me take you all for a ride. Okay, we're gonna set this up, kind of show how this was building up in the context of this Piers Morgan interview. So the conversation centered on the New York City mayoral race. And as you can imagine, since you have Zoran Mamdani, who is Muslim, involved and poised to win that race, it'll bring out the bigots like Katie Miller, who immediately attack, right? And talk about how he's gonna destroy everything. So as we all know, Zoran Mamdani has been smeared as some sort of jihadist and an anti-Semite because he won't declare fealty to Israel. But Miller had a different perspective. Let's take a look.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he wants to make—
Nobody said Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're doing is you're decoding language
that calls
to
themselves
American
a Jewish state or a Muslim
to say that
state.
we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to use it.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
So I gotta say that this standard, this double standard actually, is pretty hilarious because, okay, I'll give you another example. Our government, whether we're talking about a Democratic-led government or Republican-led government, it doesn't matter. There's been a lot of tough talk and a lot of criticism toward China. Oh, that's it. They hate the Chinese. They hate the Chinese people. No, you're being critical of a government. I might not agree with the criticism, that's where we can have dialogue and a debate. But when it comes to Israel, no criticism allowed. She got hurt real quick in this exchange, like right away.
Yeah, so she's not a very good debater.
No.
So she skipped to the anti-Semitic stuff when she's supposed to wait for you to trigger one of the million tropes that they've laid out there, like landmines, right? And once you step on a landmine by criticizing Israel in any way, shape, or form, that's when she's supposed to pretend to be aggrieved and be the victim, right? So for example, you'll say Israel killed 20,000 kids in Gaza. That is a fact, right? And they'll say, yeah, that they don't deny that it's a fact. They go blood libel. Wait, what are you talking about? No, like 200 years ago, people said that Jews killed kids, Christian kids, when they didn't and drank their blood. Good news, I didn't say any of that. I said Israel, not Jews, killed 20,000 kids today. So what are you going to blood libel for? Because everything is a trope planted around Israel to protect it. So Anna's right. If England does something terrible, or the UK or
Which
Norway,
they have many times.
Yeah, Portugal, whatever. We're allowed to criticize any government. The Greeks, oh yeah, Turks, no problem. Everyone, but if you criticize Israel, trope, you're an anti-Semite. Why? Why do they want to call you an anti-Semite?
Because you don't criticize Israel.
Right,
That's
but
it.
why? So, but like, yeah, okay, you get called a name, maybe you get past it. No, the second part of that is once you're called an anti-Semite, then they everyone has to never hire you, never put you on air. It is the ultimate cancel culture weapon. It is the nuke of the cancel culture. Like if you're anti-Muslim, no problem, you'll get back on TV. It doesn't affect your career 1%, right? If you're anti-black, that's gonna affect your career a lot, right? But if you're considered anti-Semitic, your career in media and politics is done. So what she's saying is eliminate him. And in fact, later in the interview, she literally says, I shouldn't be allowed to talk, and that any criticism of Israel is a criticism of her kids.
So she spends much of the interview talking about how she's the victim. And I'm not even exaggerating. Think about this. Just put it in context. This is Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller, one of like the most openly hateful, bigoted guys on the planet. He doesn't hide it. And she's talking about how she and her family are victims because Cenk is being critical of Israel. I kid you not, take a look.
We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders, but you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this?
He inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing for this?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield is anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try?
Do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie.
Are you gonna be okay? Are you gonna be okay? I mean, can you handle it being in the media? It doesn't seem like she can. She's got a weak sauce, pathetic podcast. I tried listening to it because I have an open mind. I'll listen to anything. Super lame, doesn't know what she's doing. And then she agrees to go on Piers Morgan show. Have you ever watched Piers Morgan show? Did you think it was gonna just be like were you gonna have your head caressed? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
She said that the Millers lie. I'm raising Jewish children in America. Okay, it's coded language. Like, well, I mean, that was insane.
So there's so many things here. First, on the kids' part, she's like, I'm threatening to denaturalize and deport you. Well, that's gonna affect my kids a lot, right? So, but my kids are not a concern because you're not pro-Israel, so your kids are irrelevant. They're just Americans. They're very lower than us, okay? But I say her and her husband lie. She's like, it's coded language for anti-Semitism, so it's hurting my kids. Wait a minute, that's not even a trope. You forgot that one. Okay, there's like a million tropes, but that's not one of them. That all Jews lie. I've never even heard that. You just made that one up. And so wait. But think about it, guys. Think about how much this is identity politics and DEI in a sense.
Oh my, this is DEI on steroids. What are you talking about?
Because she's saying you cannot ever accuse anyone who happens to be Jewish of lying in any debate, even if they are lying, because it harms all Jewish people and their children.
Yeah, wrong again, Bob.
Then you can't ever participate in a debate. Then don't come. And then you see her look to mommy. She's like, Piers, why aren't you canceling him? He already said something against me. But Stephen told me we could cancel anyone we want. We can kick him out of the country. Why don't you kick him out of your show, huh? There's no crying to mommy in a debate, okay? You either show up with facts or you try your weak sauce identity politics and I'm the victim horse crap and you get your ass handed to you.
So I can't help myself. I had to show you, because it went on and on. So I have to show you a little more of her whining. It was amazing, take a look.
Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who's going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, for the reasons in which he is wrong and which he will drive New York into failure. Is again the same reason why people on your show, instead of arguing the merits, as you say, of his opinions, they're going to sit here and use attacks on my husband and myself instead of debating us on our values and our opinions. It is gross, it is racist, and it is bigoted. And I will not join your show again if
your values suck. That's what I'm debating.
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying I think you're able to are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for.
That was Omar Bader at the end, and he's amazing. And he totally hit the nail on the head, Cenk. I mean, this is the exact type of behavior the right has criticized the left for, in a lot of cases accurately, to be honest with you, hiding behind identity in order to avoid any personal responsibility or accountability when you do something wrong. I find that pretty gross as well. Weaponizing identity to silence people, I find that gross. Now you literally have, this is the thing that blows my mind. It's Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller's wife saying all this stuff.
Yeah. So look, more. First, if you didn't hear what I said to her a couple of times there, because there's a lot of crosstalk, the last comment I said is anti-Semitism my ass, okay? Because everything is anti-Semitism. You ask her about any topic, it doesn't matter. How's your day? You're an anti-Semite, okay? You hate my children. All right, whatever, dude. All right, number two is when I said, she's like, oh no, they're just attacking us because they're racist and bigoted. Anna, you're right. I mean, the right wing hates that more than the left wing does.
They're supposedly, yeah.
And so now she's hiding behind her identity. In fact, later in the show, we talked about Karine Jean-Pierre, and I said the same thing on Piers Morgan that I said the day before on the Young Turks.
Yes.
Where I said, look, man, I don't care that Karine Jean-Pierre is a black queer woman, as she says like a million times. Yes, but what did you do? I don't care about your identity.
Yep.
Tell me what your positions are, what your policies are, what your ideas are. So we asked the same thing of Katie Miller that we asked of Karine Jean-Pierre. But what does she do? She does the same thing Karine Jean-Pierre does. She hides behind her identity. You're not allowed to criticize me. You're not allowed to debate me. You're not allowed to say I lie. You're not allowed to do anything because I'm Jewish, and that means you're an anti-Semite for opposing me. But wait a minute, I agree with other Jews, Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald, Jeffrey Sachs. I can list 1,000 Jews that I love. In fact, I know hundreds of Jews. I don't know one that likes Stephen Miller or agrees with him, right? So if the standard,
except for his wife.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there are. I just don't know any out of the hundreds of Jews that I know, family and friends.
Yeah.
They all despise Stephen Miller. So the idea that Stephen Miller and Katie Miller speak for all Jews might be the single most incorrect thing ever stated on Piers Morgan show, which is a hell of a thing, right?
Coded language.
Coded language for what? Most Jews can't stand you, okay?
Look, I will say this about Cenk, okay? He might be a lot of things, but he's not the kind of guy who uses coded language.
Yeah.
Okay. He comes in like a ton of bricks. Like he just does. That's who Cenk is. He's gonna say what he means. He's not gonna try to cower with coded language.
So as she was pretending I was attacking her race, what you might not have heard is I said, no, your values suck.
Yeah, no, that was the best line.
Okay,
that was my favorite line. It was so funny.
So it's like, I don't hide a thing, right? I'm gonna come for you 100 miles per hour. Anyway, the other thing about Mamdani, just super quick, we talked about it on the show before. Mamdani has more, according to the polling, every poll, more Jewish support than any other candidate in New York. And among Jews under the age of 45, he's at 67% approval.
You said 67% coded language. Coded language.
Math is anti-Semitic. But wait, no, Jewish Americans are on Mamdani's side.
Yeah.
No, Jews, 67% of Jews are anti-Semitic if they don't agree with the Millers?
I guess so, I guess so.
Yeah,
now look,
absurd.
After all of her pathetic tactics failed, she decided to turn to threats. And this was the moment that Cenk actually missed in real time, realized what was said today. And so let's watch, and then you'll finally have your opportunity to respond to it.
Israel does not get a pass on committing another genocide because Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust was disgusting.
You don't get a pass for calling them the SS.
Hold on.
Right.
Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel, pretending to represent Jews across the world, gets to commit another genocide upon a totally innocent people and collective punishment and murdering children over and over again and go, I get to do it. I get to do a genocide.
Before you go off, Cenk, I just have to make one comment because it appears that Piers Morgan is very offended that you referred to the IDF as the SS.
Yeah.
Why are you offended, Piers? I mean, how is the IDF acting any differently? See, I want an answer to that. So how many kids do they need to slaughter happily for you to see them for what they really are?
Yeah.
I think they're the exact same, okay? Vicious, dehumanizing monsters. And I would never apologize for saying that. I think calling them SS is totally right. Go ahead, Cenk. I don't care. Oh, well, it's so insulting to Jewish people. Is it? How about what the IDF is currently doing right now? Are we just gonna provide cover for that because they happen to be part of Israel and we always provide cover for Israel regardless of how many innocent people they slaughter? No, I'm not falling for that. I don't care. The Holocaust doesn't give you license to carry out the exact same atrocities and not get criticized for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what you might not have heard because they kept interrupting me is I was saying that the Holocaust and all the pogroms that Jews have gone through in history are disgusting. And it's terrible what happened to Jewish Americans. Then I went on to explain the reason that I mentioned the SS line is because, look, you can compare it to any soldiers of any genocide. And I mentioned the Ottomans doing it to the Armenians. So that is, of course, my ethnic group, Turks. And you could say they were Turkish soldiers or Cambodian soldiers that worked with Pol Pot or Serbs in Srebrenica, etc. Are you saying that we're allowed to criticize all of those other races, religions, countries for doing a genocide, but the one country we're not allowed to criticize for doing a genocide is Israel? Well, then you're proving my point, which is, no, Israel is allowed to do one. They get a pass. They get a free pass on genocide. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Can I just say something? 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered by the Turks in 1915. And by the way, there were a ton of massacres prior to that as well. I would never in a million years run around weaponizing my identity to prevent anyone from criticizing me or Armenians if Armenians engage in bad behavior. It's not the 1940s anymore. You don't get to use that victim card to provide cover for the atrocities that are being carried out by Israel. I find that disgusting, right? Using and weaponizing the tragedy of the Holocaust in order to provide cover for very similar atrocities that are being carried out against the Palestinian people. That victim card thing doesn't work anymore. It's over.
Yeah, and so look, last couple of things here on the kids as an example. So I also explained on the show, 60% of the kids were killed according to a study by the BBC in Gaza with either head or chest shots from snipers from hundreds of yards away, 60% in the study that they did. So that is the IDF/SS looking, going, oh, by the way, they were all under 12. Oh, there's a 5-year-old. Who's gonna take the shot to murder him? Are you gonna get him through the brain or the heart? Oh, there's a 3-year-old, there's an 11-year-old. You're telling me that's not the SS? They have an 83% civilian kill ratio, the worst of any terrorist group in the world. That's the IDF. Worse than Hamas, worse than Al Qaeda. I'm not talking that they're worse overall. I'm just saying in terms of purposely, intentionally killing civilians. Their civilian kill ratio is worse than any terror group and worse than Assad, the butcher in Syria, okay? So if that's not a genocide and that's not somebody your country you're allowed to criticize, I don't know what is. So that really gets to the heart of not Israel, not even the New York race. It gets to the heart of America and who are we? Because we started talking about the New York race and she turned it into, you're not allowed to criticize Israel, otherwise I'm gonna kick you out of America.
How about you get out of America? How about you go live in Israel? How about this is America, where we have a diverse population of people who have all types of different faiths, all types of different nationalities and backgrounds, and they're here because they want to be Americans. They're here because they love America first and foremost. All these people running around trying to silence Americans or leech off of our resources for a foreign country, get the F out of our country. And I mean that with my whole chest. I loathe these people because I see them as traitors to this country. I see them as individuals who use and abuse this country on behalf of a foreign country. Get out. You love Israel, go live in Israel. Why aren't you living there? I don't get it, Cenk.
I know why.
I wanna, look, eventually one day when I retire, I wanna like lay on a beach in Italy, but that's not because I dislike America. I freaking love this country, okay? But I would never imagine lobbying hard to like send over our resources and have our soldiers fight on behalf of Italy or Armenia or any other country. These people, they feel so entitled to it, and that's what drives me crazy. And then you have an entire political and media class that reinforces that narrative. No, we don't owe Israel anything, not a single dollar. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of politicians who are bribed and blackmailed into giving Israel anything and everything they want. But I don't co-sign onto that. I'm an American. I love this country.
Yeah, so what I would say is that they're traitors to the idea of America.
No, they're traitors to America.
Okay, so why?
She doesn't love America. Sorry, Cenk, go ahead.
So why are they? You said, why are they here? Well, first of all, they were born here, to be fair, right? So I don't mind them being here, but I mind them serving Israel instead of us, especially when they're in the government. And she's not in the government, by the way. She's just a princess, Princess Snowflake. She's married to the nobles. So she's married to Stephen Miller. So she says, oh yes, as the wife of one of the nobles, one of the lords in the Trump administration, I get to unilaterally cancel your citizenship. That's not how this country works. So maybe that's how Israel works, where you're like, oh, you're a Muslim, that's it, you're canceled. Or maybe we murder you, maybe we kick you out, but you have no rights at all.
Yeah, open up
that's
some space
Israel. That's not here, that's not America. And by the way, now the right wing is on our side, and now young Jewish Americans all the way up to 45 years old are overwhelmingly on our side. And soon almost all Jewish Americans will be on our side. The only people left will be these pro-Israel radicals. And we never bring up religion. Every single time it's the pro-Israel radicals that bring up religion, right? So maybe others say it, but we certainly have never said it. We never say, oh, it's the Jews or anything along those lines. In fact, we do the exact opposite. We love our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we're not just saying that, they're Americans. It means something to be an American. That means you're one of us, okay? But what Katie Miller is doing is she's betraying that idea that you're one of us.
She's trying to bury Americans on behalf of Israel. Okay, that's what I have a problem with. When you're trying to destroy the lives of your fellow Americans because they hurt your feelings when they commented on a foreign country that you have far more loyalty to. Yeah, I said it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna hold back and I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. The fact that she threatened to revoke your citizenship because you're critical of Israel is disgusting, and she's a traitor to the country. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, okay, last thing from me. Guys, what authority does she have to revoke anybody's citizenship? She's saying, since I'm married to a noble, to an elite, and you are embarrassing me in this debate by being right, and I have literally no facts to back me up. All I have is charges of racism and anti-Semitism, right? But it doesn't matter, since I am one of the elites, I get to cancel any American that criticizes me or Israel. I don't know anything more un-American than that. I just don't. And so at this point, they're getting a twofer, the Millers and the other pro-Israel radicals. They're like, we get to enjoy beautiful America. We get to direct America's money to Israel. We get to do propaganda here against all Muslims because Israel's has continually attacked their Muslim neighbors and taking their land. And then we make America fight all those wars against those Muslims instead of Israel. So it's a giant win for them because they take everything they need from America, give it to their actual country that they're loyal to. And by the way, in all of this, did you ever hear me say anything about Turkey? Never, right? Because what do I care? I'm an American.
The only thing you say about Turkey, and in the context of that interview, is you talked about the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never say anything where, well, you owe Turkey. You're anti-Turkish if you criticize the government of Turkey. Like, I would never say anything that absurd. In fact, as Anna pointed out, I criticize the government of Turkey. You know why? I'm an American. But she does not feel that loyalty.
Yeah,
at a moment's notice, she's like, Israel, 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 Israel. And DEI, culture wars, identity politics, cancel culture. I'm gonna do it all on behalf of Israel, and I'm gonna trash the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and the US Constitution, and try to literally attack Americans and kick them out of the country on behalf of a foreign government. Not only is that the most un-American thing you could do, it's also the very last thing you do if you want to be America first.
Yeah.
That is not America first, that's America last. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.